basically what we'll do is we'll just talk away, and I'll ask you a few questions, and we'll get into the swing of things, and then if there's something that you feel you want to say or put across, well then now's the time to do it. Okay. Other than that, this interview is really for you, just to have a record of where you're at the moment, and I like doing it, so I like talking to people and all the rest of it.
Okay.
And meeting new people, and it's nice to meet you, Steve.
Nice to meet you,
I didn't even
Brian.
know your second name yet.
Ross.
Ross, oh that's right, oh yeah, of course, yeah, Ross. And mine is Hartnett, as I was telling you, which you
Special name.
You turned Hartnett into He Art Net.
Yeah, that was just, I like to play word games, because you see, the thing is, what's going on with me is I've got some sort of a weird connection to something that I like to call the collective consciousness, Jung's collective consciousness.
Okay.
And a lot of people won't believe in it, and other people will believe in it, and there's no right and wrong. It's just what's appropriate for them.
But you believe in it. It's real to you.
I don't believe in it. I believe in myself, and that's the whole point: is not believe in anything you see, right? But listen to everything and hear everything and see as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And if you miss something, it's not important, because you've seen what you need to see for you. So what life seems to be about for me. This is my language, so it won't be correct for anybody listening or talking or whatever, right? So it's me. What's right for me is to go out into the world and interact with as many people as I can.
Okay.
Now, because they're all different, they've all got their own perspectives, they've all got their own place, and they're unique. You can't be anybody but themselves. Well, they can choose to go and pretend to do stuff this way or that way and get engaged in distractions. And distractions are great fun. And that's why they're there. They're meant to be fun. They're not meant to be miserable.
Yeah.
But we can choose to have miserable distractions as well, like the news and panic in the world, banks, and this, that, and the other. And that's all fine, and it's all appropriate, and it's all really good. All of it. Or it's all really evil. All of it. But it's all appropriate depending on the situation. And why is evil appropriate? Well, it's appropriate because some people need to be frightened into moving away from the bad shit and into the nice shit.
Okay.
And it's still just shit.
So you think that people should try to be more positive rather than concentrating on a lot of the sort of negative stuff like the banks going down and stuff like that? There's more important things in life than worrying about money and stuff like that. So.
Well, it's not like that the banks are less important than the great stuff, which is also important. They are not important. It's all just is. It just is. You know, somebody like, let's talk about God for religious language.
Yeah.
In religious language, God would say something like, I am, because that's his name.
Yeah.
And on the human level, we say I am, because we're little gods. And we use smaller letters.
Yeah.
And we use bigger letters. And you'll look on the internet, you'll see this everywhere. Seriously, go and look on the internet and look for it. Wikipedia has it. If you find I am in capital letters.
What do we look up on Wikipedia? God, is it?
I am.
Just I am.
Type in I am, most pages on the internet with I am or something, I can't remember. But it's there, and there's loads of it.
That's God, anyway.
Well, no, it's not. Well, it is and it isn't. Because I am capitals is invoking the all that is. Yeah. I mean, God is a terrible word because everybody's got their own meaning, right? Here's a little word game for you with God.
Okay.
Okay, so what is God? God is a sort of a...
G-O-D.
G-O-D. What is he to you? What's he to you?
It's an overdose of G.
And is G great or is
G-force?
Is G great or ghastly?
Force.
You know?
The God force.
The God force. So look, you know, just spin it around. God turns into dog.
If you, yes, yeah, God.
What do dogs do? They protect the people in the house. They're protected.
Well, I see the flip side of God is dog. That's, I mean, there are two halves of the same coin.
So, does that mean that a dog is Satan? No, it doesn't mean that it's Satan.
No, but I believe that I have this theory. Now, this is your interview, but I have this theory that light travels up. Okay, and that essentially, even though there's a status quo in the world, and in terms of time, we're moving so slowly that it's unlikely we'd ever even notice in a million years maybe any progress, forwards or backwards or whatever. But it does seem that despite the status quo, that we are tending to travel upwards as regards our consciousness and our progress in the world. I mean, we're not living in caves anymore, and it's only a flash or a flash in the pan that we're actually here where we are, sitting here with cameras and electricity and all the rest of it. You know.
Comfort.
So if the light is travelling upwards, in some ways we're travelling very fast. We're pissing along, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we are. We're getting
so
very
maybe
close.
Perhaps maybe we're travelling a bit too fast at the moment, and no.
It's never too fast or too slow. It just is. So it's more or less appropriate. You know.
I think it's a bit fast sometimes. You know?
Yeah. So it's not appropriate to be fast for you because you're in a condition of slowing down a bit and just kind of relaxing. And to be honest, if you want to find your true self, and really that's what I'm. This is my message. The thing I really want to get across to people is that we're all gods, but we're small gods because we're all big gods split up. And if you put all of us back together, you don't make the big God, because there's more than that in big God. God is everything, right? And the word is inappropriate or more appropriate depending on what you believe yourself. So it doesn't really matter, and nothing really matters, and it's just going to occur. Something will occur, and you have a choice to aim for a better thought or a worse thought, you know. And so, you know, you're sitting in a traffic jam, you know, and you're sitting there frustrated. I need to get to work. I need to get to work because somebody's going to give you grief. You start thinking these negatives, or you could be sitting there in the traffic jam thinking, "Ooh, check her out, man! Nice rack," you know. Or you might not see a nice rack, but you might see a sign that says, you know, gold for sale. You know, buy some gold because gold is AG. And A is the alpha, and if you see with the capital A, it's always capital A, small g.
Yeah.
What does the small g mean? Well, that's up to you to work out. It's not. I've worked it out for me. If I tell you, it'll be this bollocks because it's my view.
Sure.
But what you have is your view of this thing through your experiences, which are valid. Everybody's experiences happen to them.
So we're in Bantry at the moment,
Yeah.
and we're up in the hills near between Durris and Bantry.
On what I like to call
in
the Love Mountain.
The Love Mountain, in the Love House, Grania's house.
Yeah.
Grania isn't here at the moment, but we're expecting her imminent arrival, so she might arrive in the middle of the interview, and maybe not, we'll see. But one way or the other, thanks to Grania for letting us.
And I love
chat
Grania
here.
so much because, do you know what? Grania was one of the first girls I ever fancied.
Wow.
And because I was living in Saudi Arabia and my mum was trying to teach me and I was at school over there and stuff, but it wasn't working out, so I wanted to come home. Although she remembers that she was dying to get rid of me and she sent me away, I remember dying to be away, so clearly I needed my space for my family and they needed space for me. So that was good because I needed to learn a few lessons, and off I went to Rochelle, which has been destroyed now, which is a shame, but it's appropriate, it's right. It's necessary for whatever, I don't know, it's just sad for me. For other people it's glad because they're now living in these beautiful houses that were built on top of it. But Grania made a massive impression on me when I was a child, really, I was 13, 14, something like that. And we had a bunch of experiences, and I ended up being really I felt humiliated because she rejected me. And and it was horrible for me at the time, but I understand why that happened now, because it gave me some information about what it means to be a man, or a boy at that stage, but I was learning to be a man. And it took me 37 years, almost 38 years to become a man. And there's no rush.
Yeah.
We've got these signs and symbols, 21, 16, 18, be a man. Be a man whenever it's appropriate for you to be a man.
Yeah, I mean, there's different stages of being a man as well, isn't there? I mean, you could argue that you start to be a man at quite an early age, and then that you go through all of these phases as you go along. I mean, I used to ask myself the question for a long, long time. I mean, I'm 45 now, and I asked myself the question up until maybe my late 30s, early 40s, when am I going to become a man? And it's only in recent times I've begun to realise, well, actually, I've been a man all along, and I am a man. But it's just that you never really. I have this big thing, and this is something which I think is very relevant to your situation at the moment as well, is being. And just being in the moment. I know it's a cliche, in the moment, but I have this feeling of being pulled all the time, being pulled out of myself, being pulled forward. Even right now, I have a desire to get up and do things. I have a desire to go and make more tea. I have a desire to close the door. I have a desire to come up with more questions. No, we'll do these things, but even when I do those things, I know that I'll still be. So sometimes
still be crying.
Sometimes stopping and actually just being in the moment. And I think that kind of problem, you'll never really feel that not only are you not just a man, or you're not just Brian or Stephen or whatever, but you never actually get a real feeling or a real sort of resonance with anything, unless you're resonating with it, unless you're actually feeling those vibrations.
God, how did you get so wise, man? That's
me.
Yeah, that's profound. It's true. It's.
Do you know how I got to that stage, and I'm able to say things like that through a long, painful process where I went out into the world after being given all this support and grounding in a tradition that was Ireland in the 70s from my parents. Wonderful parents, gave me everything I could possibly need for where they were coming from. But unfortunately the world that I went out into was completely different, and I got completely lost.
So what I want to ask you guys is, where are you in your lives? Where are you? Are you lost or are you found? Only you know. I can't tell you. What I can do is I can lead you to the questions, but you have to answer them yourselves. That's all I'm offering. I'm a signpost. And come find me if you want to be steered. Stay away from me if you want to be feared. So
anyway, so that's how I came up with all of these clever interpretations and answers. But it's all stuff we all know anyway. It's just a matter of putting it into words and saying it at the right time, really, I suppose. But I was going to say, no, I enjoy trying to figure these things out for myself. But what I don't like is when you get this feeling that like nothing matters. This kind of emptiness, this kind of like, well, so bloody what? Like, I mean, so what if you are resonating with the universe and you're feeling it, man, you know, or whatever, like, isn't that great for you and all the rest of it? In other words, when you come down off your, supposed high horse or whatever, or when you fall off, or when you crash, or when you get to a stage where you're actually not feeling anything, you're completely numb, you feel like, do you ever see at a bus stop, you know that kind of black, grimy, oily stuff that you see on the side of the streets in the middle of really busy streets?
Yeah.
And you kind of look at that stuff and you go, that is real dirt, like that's just, it's not even muck or earth or whatever, it's just
sludge,
some kind of filth, you know. And you feel like that, you feel like this just
sticky,
gunk, you know,
slow moving,
horrible rubbish, like, and you're just stuck to the side of the road somewhere, you know, and it's like, anyway, but it passes, thank God, you know, and then you get back up on your horse and you're off again, like, you know. So where are you at the moment? How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. I'm really feeling good. I've been wandering around. Actually, thanks for asking the question. There's a couple of people I bumped into today that are kind of freaked out, because sometimes I have to freak people out. It's the only way for me to get them to notice that I'm trying to, you know, I don't know, it doesn't matter what I'm trying to do. Sometimes I have days where I'm focused on others, and sometimes on those days when I'm focused on others, I do really well at it, and you know, and I feel good about myself because I think, yeah, okay, I've achieved stuff. And other days I do what appears to be crazy stuff, and I'm not really crazy. I'm just doing stuff. I'm acting a role. And what that is, on those days, I allow Stephen Ross, the me, you know, the guy who's in charge of this body, who is in charge of his own experience and has responsibility to either choose to allow it or not allow it. So when I'm driving around myself, like I am kind of now, pretty much, although I'm still getting little whiffs of kind of, you know, this other kind of connection to my higher consciousness. But, you know, it's up to me to open or lock the door, you know, and I can close it, so it's closed now. I'm about to open it. And so the wisdom comes through, and I can say wise stuff, but only because I've allowed it, you know. And if I don't allow it, you know, it
gets stuck.
It's stuck.
Yeah.
So it's only a choice between love or fear, and you can choose to be stuck in that traffic jam going, fucking prick. Or you can choose to be stuck in the traffic jam looking in your rearview mirror at the attractive girl or guy, depending on who you are. And, you know, think nice thoughts or think bad thoughts, and it's up to you, it's just up to you.
I've just thought about that, you know that REM video, the one where they're all stuck in the traffic jam?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's incredible.
I love REM though, they're great.
Yeah, but there's this video and they're all sitting in their cars in this traffic jam, and the song is playing now, I can't remember the song, but the words or the thoughts that are coming out of people, like, oh my God, I don't think I'm going to make it, are coming out of, you know, it's in the video, you just see these words coming along, or it's subtitles or whatever. But everybody, towards the end of the video, as far as I remember, the way I remember it anyway, they all get out of the cars, and they all go, fuck this, you know, we're stuck here, there's not, the traffic isn't moving, we gotta walk, you know. So they all, it's a real American thing, like, you know what I mean, we're gonna walk to work today, you know, we don't need our cars, you know. And they all get out and they walk off, like, you know, and it's all great and everything like that. But no, it's just what you're talking about, traffic jams, you know. So anyway, you have a lovely car. It's sitting outside here. It's blue. It's the same year as mine, 99, and the Ford into the bargain.
I love my car.
It's a beautiful car.
I was so lucky. I nearly bought another car, which was a Rover. Right, this was years ago, just before Rover had just collapsed.
Yeah.
And I was there, and I took it to mean something, like, you know, okay, oh well, it's collapsed, so I'll buy this other car. And it was a real boring car. It was like, you know, diesel, and it was kind of, you know, pretty unimpressive, and but it was, I could afford it. So it was like, okay, I was using my logical head because I was thinking ahead, and I was thinking about what I'd done before and how I'd fucking lost stuff. So I wasn't in my present moment.
Yeah, keep talking.
So so I put a deposit down, a couple £100 in this car, maybe it was only £100, I can't remember. Anyway, it was significant money because I didn't have them that much at the time. I mean, I had some. I had this great job as a management consultant for this great company. They kind of treated me a little bit badly towards the end, and so I had to kind of leave. But But they were there teaching me lessons, and for that I'm really grateful. And I don't even think they were aware they were teaching. But I learned a lot from them. And so Bob, and Rupert, and all you guys, thanks. But what I ended up, my friend Neil said, "What did you buy?" And I said, "I bought this Rover. I got this car." And he said, "Oh no, man, you don't want to do that." And he took me up to a garage, and that car was in it, and I could afford it. And I took it for a test drive, and it felt great. So I just knew, fuck it. You know, it was more than I could really. I wanted to spend and afford. My logical left brain head was saying, "Don't do it." My creative right brain, my feminine wisdom, was saying, "Go for it." And you know what? I preferred the wisdom, and I bought the car, and that car has seen me through great times. So it was really good. It's probably one of the best purchases I made. I couldn't have made it without, having the job at, the company and doing what they wanted me to do. But there was some stuff that I didn't want to do, and I wouldn't do. And somebody else would have done it in a shop, because that was them, that was their experience. But it wasn't for me. And so I had belief enough in myself to leave, and I had belief enough to be me. And through being me, I learned to know me. And once I knew myself, I connected to something far better than me. But you see, it's dangerous because the language is so... People get very precious about the language.
Excuse me.
And it's just that we've got so many different languages, and that's what keeps us apart usually.
But I mean, are they all saying the same thing though? I mean, even the best language we have is just
which one is that?
Human interaction.
What is the best language?
Well, it's human interaction. I mean, we might. If you ever been abroad on holidays and you go into a little village or something and you don't have a word of the language they're speaking.
Yeah.
Yes, you go in. You maybe order a cup of tea or a beer or whatever. Maybe you get something to eat. Flirt with one of the local girls. Get vibes off some of the local heads or whatever, and make your way out of it and say goodbye and go off and say, well, that was a nice day at the end of the day. All without a word of the language you're dealing with. So it makes you think, what are we doing when we're actually talking or using language to express ourselves or to tell stories or whatever. It's really very limited in a way, isn't it? It's very frustrating, really. Like, I'm sure you feel frustrated now. You'd actually like to...
No, I don't. I don't feel frustrated. I used to feel very frustrated because I didn't understand it. But because I've learned to know myself by just being myself and just not believing anybody else or believing that religion or this religion.
That's not what I mean. What I mean is, if you wanted to say something now on camera as such or whatever, or as part of an interview, that if you wanted to get your point across, I mean, I
don't need to do anything. I just need to sit here, and this is getting my point across.
Yeah.
This is the example here. Just look at this. This is, and it's only my message, and I'm just telling you what works for me. And in me telling you that, either you can take it as me preaching to you, or you can take it as me just kind of being me. And in that, you can see that I am trying to learn from you, or you can think that I'm trying to tell you my view, but I'm not. And so I'm practicing. You're helping me to learn stuff right now. I'm learning how to have an interview with you, and I've never had an interview in my life, and I'm flattered that you wanted to interview me.
Yeah.
I'm not really worthy of it. I am worthy of it too. So
everyone is worthy of an interview. Everyone.
Human interaction.
No, well, I do believe that everyone has something to say. What is it that you want to say? If you were going to say something, your epitaph, it's a bit early for that, yes, but I mean, what are you about? Like, what's your modus operandi? What is it you want to say, not just to me, to the world out there, If there is something you want to say. If you just want to say, I'm Stephen, I'm happy enough, I'm enjoying the day, and that's it, and I don't really have much to say, well, then that in itself is saying something, isn't it?
I'll tell you what I'll say. I'm going to say this, and this is going to be a little bit cryptic. This is the symbols, this is the images of power, and if you want to learn the images of power, then go for it, but be careful, because that way is 6, and 6 is Satan, and Satan is the planet that is no longer, and that planet that is no longer is an asteroid belt. But know that it is 6, and it's next to 7, and it is next to 8, and it is next to 9. and it is next to 10. But all I will say now is, I know that I know this language, but I will never use it, for it is the way to the wrong way. The key to the way is 3. That isn't 3, and that isn't 3, but that is 3. So now go and find yourself, for I can't do it for you, but I love you, and I want to be with you forever. So one day I might be a star, or one day I might not. And it's not for me to decide those things, it's for my people around me to decide these things. But I love you very much, and I love myself just as much. And now the door will be closed, and that will be me, little Steve. But if you want to find out more about me, just take my name or my date of birth, take it apart, strip it down, raise it up. You'll see me frown. And then, when the time is right, the wisdom of yourself will stop the fright. But just know.
Very nice.
So now that wasn't me. That was me. That was something better than me, because I can't do that kind of stuff. That was great, and I didn't have it planned, and I didn't have it. It just flowed.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons I wanted to do the interview is that when I met you last night, I find that when when I meet people that I think it's a good idea for all of us to make a record at various stages in our lives of where we're at. Now, I've done a number of interviews, and I've kind of always said the same thing in a way. I mean, I've done a lot of interviews over a period of, say, about, say 5 or 6 years. I've done maybe, say, 5 or 6 proper interviews. And I've noticed that I always keep saying the same kind of thing over and over again. So essentially I think we have something to say, and that's it. We kind of keep saying it. There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone, I mean, that's who we are, essentially. You're telling somebody, well, this is me. And, that's, everyone has their own individual thing. Like.
But which me? And there's 3 me's. 3 me's. There's 3 yous, there's 3 us's, there's 3 of them. 3 is the key. And I can explain it in a load of different ways. I can go from the religious aspect, the psychological aspect, the scientific aspect.
Well, if you were to think about what I just said about when I tell my story or when I do an interview, it always comes across in the same way. I mean, who is Stephen Ross? What?
Steve Ross is this child, this kind of guy who just loves a bit of fun and just wants to chill out, and he's a bit messy and he's lazy and he's hairy, but he loves people. You see, and this is what I realised. I really love everybody, and I've had some beautiful relationships in my life with beautiful women. Yeah. And the last relationship I had was she was the most beautiful woman that I'd ever been with, and she loved me, and I loved her. But she got to a point where she realised I loved everybody else as well. I loved her more, but she wanted my entire love. And the problem with that is that men are designed to be magnificent, right? And so are women magnificent, but it's a different role. And we support each other, but men go out into the world. I mean, again, this is my language, it's nobody else's, right? So don't judge what I'm saying, just know that what I'm saying isn't lies from me. Although you can interpret it as lies. So a woman is the heart. She's the love pump. The thing that keeps a man able to be radiant and magnificent, And the thing is, what she gets in return is the fact that he is radiant and magnificent. Now, I'm a single guy, and I've messed up loads of relationships, and I'm really sorry for girls. But thank you for teaching me that, I'm not perfect. I'm just Steve, and I'm, Okay.
Can I ask you something? When was the last time you cried?
cried at Barry's funeral. Barry's a friend of mine. He was 40, so he was young, but he was an amazing guy. And he was amazing in his just not doing. He just was.
Yeah.
And he just was because, you know, he wasn't in a body like you and mine, which could kind of really just take the full experience of his spirit, you know, his chi, his life force. It doesn't matter, the words are just different languages, but they all mean the same thing. It's what keeps us apart. But yeah, so I wasn't full on tears, but it was a welling up, you know.
Yeah.
And I had to leave the church, and I went outside and just, you know, I was in the church doing the church thing, and I was really respectful and was getting into it. I loved it, singing was beautiful. And that was inspiring me towards emotion. And then when I got out, I went and sat in the grass and I just did a little, you know, meditation, which would be not a Christian thing to do, but it's just another version of praying, just like walking in nature and admiring it. Because really prayer is a bad word. Admire is a better word for prayer. It's a human thing we do. We admire each other. And you see, what we've done is, well, it's not really what we've done. It's just what has come. You know, the physical manifests out of the non-physical, and so admiration, which is a non-physical thing, it's just something we do.
So how long ago was
so
this?
money is now the physical manifestation of admiration, and that's fine. It's great, you know. But like, I prefer not. Well, I'm not going to say I would prefer not to get paid because I'm going to need some money to interact with the material world.
How long ago was the funeral?
I prefer admiration. 2-3 days ago.
2-3 days ago?
Yeah, it's very recent.
Sorry to hear about that.
But Barry was a gifted guy. Although people would look at him and they'd go, he's a retarded guy. He wasn't. He was magnificent. He was just magnificent. And the thing is, if you took the time to just sit down with him and got to know him, and people look at him because he's acting strange and they run away from him. But if you sit down and got to know him, you'd realise something about yourself. And I can't express what he taught me because it was just too brilliant. But the people who are in bodies that aren't complete, like most of you out there, those are the truly gifted people. Because they've been able to come to terms with their prison. Some of you haven't. I'm sorry about that. But it's your choice. You know, sit there and be complaining about the fact that you can't do shit that other people seem to be able to do. The point isn't to do. The point is to just be comfortable in your own self. This is your body, you know. And once you're comfortable in your body, it'll talk to you. It'll tell you things about yourself. And you'll learn more about what it means to be a fully expressed human being. And right now I'm fully expressed, right? And soon I'm going to go and try and be a star. And I'm going to get waylaid by fame and fortune and stuff. Now I don't know that, it might not happen, but at the moment it seems like a high probability because I'm writing books and stuff. And I really like what I'm writing. Whether other people will like it, it's up to them. You know? And if they hate it, then that's appropriate because it just is. It's just the appropriate response for them. And you know, I'm not going to take it personally if somebody comes up and goes, "You fucking idiot, you haven't got the right idea. It's all wrong. Fuck you." And it's a bit like, okay, if I go and speak to atheists, I mean, because I have belief in myself. Atheists don't believe in anything. So when I try and communicate with an atheist, it's like there's no language there, there's no common territory. Now, I can't unlearn what I know and my belief.
Yeah.
But an atheist can learn to believe, but they don't have to, because what they know already is right for them.
They believe in something, they believe that there's no God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for them, there's no God.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying I have a different belief. I'm not trying to force that belief on atheists.
I mean, I believe in God. I believe in God very strongly, but I think.
Well, what is it? Define God for me, because
well, I tell you, what I believe is that the possibilities are endless, but there's a kind of a defined order to things. And it seems pretty much intact. It seems pretty much stable. I mean, if you look at if it came to me one time, the expression about time, that everything we know, I mean everything, time, space, the history, everything about our consciousness, everything that we know is like a drop in the ocean of everything that is. So if you think of it in those terms, I mean, the possibilities, and even then that seems. I mean, the concept of infinity, I
And
think,
beyond.
I think can be applied to anything or any aspect of life. So every object in this room, including our own physical bodies and all the rest of it, is infinite in a way because it just transforms into something else eventually.
Well, you're just the centre of the infinity, you know, but it's not the same
Yeah,
as my
well,
centre
it's
of infinity.
like we're essentially everything around us, including ourselves and all we are,
You're the
is
focus.
just energy.
You're the focus and you're the locus. You're
I mean,
the central point of infinity. So, sorry.
The mug or the cup or the water or whatever is just various condensed types of energy. I mean, some of it is rubber, it's ceramic, it's water, it's whatever.
You got a rubber cup.
Well, there's a rubber thing on the end.
That's clever. I like that. See, somebody was inspired enough to make something like that.
Well,
Now,
actually, that's why I think it's a lovely. I studied product design in college,
Yeah.
so I'm very conscious of design and things like that.
But you see, it's Starbucks, right? Now, Starbucks.
Yeah, well, they would have good mugs, wouldn't they, or good cups? But
Because the people who are running Starbucks are gifted people.
Yeah.
I've never met them. I don't know who they are. But they're gifted people because they look at the name Star. Let's go for the stars.
Yeah.
And Bucks. Buck the trend. I don't know. Look, that might not be what they were thinking.
well, Bucks. I mean,
Means
I don't know
something
whether
to
they deliberately made up the name or where they got it from. But Bucks in America means money, and the Americans love money. They do. They love money. The money is, and there's probably nothing wrong with it.
No, it's just the fabulous material.
as long as it
There's a
depends
reason
what you do
Hollywood
with it, like.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, just going back to the thing about energy and possibilities, I believe that there are endless possibilities in any direction. So things like time, distance, life, death, all of those things are infinite. So there's no end to anything in any direction. And from that point of view, it's quite possible that everything is really God, including ourselves,
But
and
that's the definition.
including all of the energy that we see around us.
The definition is it's all that is, right? So forget about words. Words are just language. What you need to do is look beyond the words and into the meaning behind the words. The words are the signposts. They're not the thing. They can't be the thing because they're only part of the thing. And you can only have the thing once you realise that you're a part of the thing. And then you look at the thing and you go, fuck me, that's massive. How the hell am I going to comprehend it? And you can't. You need to do it through a filter, which is why you've got the third aspect, which is the filter, which is the conduit, which is like the, you know, the fucking broadband line, it's the pipe. The pipe that you connect the door to which you connect through your bit of the internet that isn't, but it is. So the internet is a physical manifestation of something that I call the collective consciousness. You know, well, what's the physical manifestation of the collective unconsciousness? You know, I plugged into that, and it's telling me things. And it's not like I've got voices in my head, because I don't have voices in my head. I've got pockets of thought that get transmitted into my head at the right time. And where are they coming from? My brain. You know, it's like my brain. You know, and all you poor people who are in the fear and in the end and the suffering, you haven't dealt with your trauma, you need to bring your trauma up. It's hard, it's fucking hard. But the trauma isn't a trauma. I mean, it is in one sense, but what it actually is, it's a life experience. It's a little lesson for you. And when you choose to stop rummaging around in the, you know, off the path there, somewhere in the fearful darkness off the path in the forest where there's wolves and there's tigers and shit, scary things, snakes that'll bite you. You come back onto your path, which is just your centeredness. And it's lovely there. And it's, you know, you can see the way ahead of you. But in the woods, you can't see the wood for the trees. It's more like being an owl, you know, flying over the top, you know, the wise owl. You kind of perspective and stuff. A bit like a chess player moving the pieces about on the board. And really, we're just pieces. You don't see the pieces going, oh, I'm going to go over there. Because that would be stupid. They can do it if they want, but they can't actually, because they don't have wheels or they don't have legs. But
they're clever.
But they're clever. But in the analogy, you know, it's kind of, and what I'm see all of that stuff just now was metaphors, talking in metaphor. Because if I speak in plain English, right, I'm speaking to like you. I can speak to you in plain English because I'm relating directly to you.
Yeah.
If I'm speaking to them, there's loads of them. I don't know who they are. They're the we.
Well, that's just a camera. I mean, like the way I look at it is that you have to, when you're doing this, you have to kind of switch off and pretend. Well, not pretend, but when you're talking at your best, or when you're putting yourself across at best, it's when you're not conscious of the camera.
I would say not.
The minute you become conscious of it, then you start to try and come up with this, you know, the right way of saying things and clever things to say and all the rest of it. And then that seems staged, and it doesn't sound or look right. So the idea is to try and forget about that and concentrate on I mean, to be honest with you, normally I wouldn't use a camera. Normally I just have the audio, which is far less intimidating because you forget about the fact that there's something over here which is filming us.
Do you think I'm intimidated by the camera?
Well, I'm sure you are to a degree. I mean, maybe not as much as...
Do you think I'm intimidated by the camera? Or do you think I'm really conscious? Or do you think I'm completely asleep? You know, because it's like, I don't know your perspective. You're looking at me, I have no idea what your perspective of me is. I'm just Steve, sitting here in a chair, drinking a cup of, herb tea, which is really nice, by the way. And, just trying to be, being, human being, man, being. We've been doing it for so long, and where's it got us? Confused the fuck out of us, hasn't it, really? Doing. And everybody goes, but I have to do, I've got a mortgage to pay, I've got to feed my kids, I've got to do all this sort of stuff. Well, yeah, you do. All I'm saying is, do it, but then give yourself a bit of space to be. And from your being, you will really do. And you will find that you will do.
Well, it happened to me recently. I was working in a full-time job up until about 6 months ago for 7 years solid, and I was doing.
I've done that too.
And I was never
Yeah.
and I didn't know how to be. I was conscious of the fact that I didn't know how to be, but I didn't know how to stop.
No. It's addictive.
So what I did is, when I left the job, I started to unwind and travel down the stairs down to the ground floor where I could just be. Now, I'm still not I'm not on the ground floor as far as I'm concerned. I'm probably still a couple of floors up. And I'm not happy about that. I'd like to be on the ground floor because I really do want to just be.
Yeah.
I want to be out, enjoying my life, enjoying and experiencing, going back to what we were talking earlier on about being in the moment, being in myself, feeling connected to
that's the entry
myself
point,
and everything
is
around.
the present moment.
Yeah, because otherwise you're lost in this kind of fog, this kind of spiritual, mental, physical, this kind of nowhere place.
I love you. You see, he is very wise, right? and you're teaching me stuff, man, I didn't know before, and I'm sitting here going, fucking thank you, man. But if I come to you with the idea that you're some bloody, kind of strange man in yellow, right? Then, and I didn't like yellow. For some reason, yellow, in my understanding, was, cowardly. Right?
Yeah.
Instead of what it really means, which is courage. And if I thought you were cowardly and I wanted to kind of like dominate you, I could enter my ego and I could be fucking magnificent, you piece of shit. Who do you think you are talking to me? I know everything, for fuck's sake, because I am ego and I am amazing and I love myself. But I choose not to do that. Or sometimes I do choose to do that because it's appropriate. Right? It was appropriate just there because but really the appropriate place is just to be centered in yourself. That's where because you're the focus. You can go over there, but when this is in you, and in you, and in you. There's always three. There's always the observer, and the interviewer, and the audience, right? And it's like all the world is a stage, as Shakespeare put it, We're all just acting roles, and we all chose those roles, but you don't remember choosing it. There were 6 billion roles. You all chose one. Which role did you choose? And what I'm saying is you can find out what role you chose, and
I could trace the line that ran between your smile and your sleight of hand. I guess that you put something up my sleeve. Every time I see your face, the bells ring in a far-off place. We can find each other this way, I believe. From the hills and up behind my town, it's naked from the horizon down. The curvature is pressed against the rays. And we walked up into fields alone. The silence fell just like a stone that got lost in the wild blue and the gravel gray. Come and find me now. Come and find me space, I draw you close with every breath. You don't know it's right until it's wrong. You don't know it's yours until it's gone. I didn't know that it was home till you up and left. Come and find me now. Come and find me now. Keep you in a flower vase, your fatalism, crooked face with the daisies and the violet brocades. And I keep me in a vacant lot in the ivies, forget-me-nots, hoping you will come and untangle me one of these days. Come and find